Sometimes in fighting games, it isn't enough to outclass your opponent. Fighting an opponent's all about communicating without words, and sometimes you need to send a message. There's a few different ways you could do that. You could prepare them a strong cup of tea. You could pick their own character against them. Show them that you know their stuff better than they do.
The mirror match, and for a lot of you guys thinking that Punk is trolling, he sort of is.
Or you could go for the definitive disrespect and select random. Playing random in a fighting game is a difficult feat, and it's easy to see why, especially nowadays. Games have such big rosters that being able to beat people with all of them is almost unheard of. That's why I was so excited to see Capcom was giving us 11 in the final update to Street Fighter V. For those who don't know, 11 works as a sort of random select players can use online. In ranked and casual matches, random select isn't available, which made sense, but was a tad restricted. Now anyone can pick 11 and use him to style on their opponents. Or use his lack of style, I guess? 11 adds a quirky voice effect and skin to whatever character he takes, but that's about all he does. Nothing about the way the character plays changes or their damage or anything like that. He's legitimately a fancy random select. He does, however, affect the V system. Normally through random, players can choose what V trigger and V skill they get during the match. 11 chooses for you, which is another layer of mastery needed to do well with him. Lots of games take this approach to a random character, like most recently, Lunalu in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. She selects a character for you and watches from the sidelines as you duke it out.
Cagliostro won't lose!
Player one.
I'm glad we get stuff like this in our fighting games nowadays, but it really feels lackluster the more you think about it. For example, 11 doesn't even change your character round to round or game to game. Instead, if you were to run a first to 5 as 11, you'll be the same character every game. It would be much more interesting to have 11 change your character or V system every round to keep players on their toes. Without something like that, 11 might as well just be a skin. Punk and Mena RD just ran a first to 11 set using 11, and showed off great mastery of the game's fundamentals, but even they expressed how annoying it was to set up the competition because 11 doesn't change on a game-per-game basis.
Did you change to one round? Wait, what? Is that how you do this? Alright, so we about to start this. This is gonna be the first game. Bro, you gotta wait for it, bro. You gotta wait the whole timer every time with 11? What the heck?
Seeing this makes me think, if only there was a character who was an adept ace of adaptation, an exceptionally experienced emulator, the most random select character we could ask for.
The mysterious master of mimicry, Mokujin!
I think Mokujin is a perfect example of how to do the random select character. You can't even tell outright what character he's mimicking until you see his intro animations and what stance he takes during battle. His fighting style also changes from round to round, which spices up the match. Because he's just a model that can have any character moveset on him, Tekken doesn't have to load new models like it would for 11, meaning they can change more about him more freely. All of this said, I hope more games down the line implement something like this because a character that's just random select feels like a waste of a slot to many and an inconvenience to most. The biggest difference between Mokujin and other Mimic characters is that he's built with online functionality in mind, as well as single-player content. You'll notice, most of these characters like 11 and Lunalu work best in arcade modes of their games. That way, you get a new character every match and it flows better than if you were playing online. You'll notice that if you find any footage of these characters online, it's them playing arcade mode. We're also led to believe a lot of these were mostly Easter egg kind of gimmicks, like Marionette from Darkstalkers. To select her, players have to select random 7 times and then press a kick or a punch button. She creates a puppet of the character you'll be facing, so she'll always fight mirror match. This is different from a random select character and possibly even more disrespectful. It seems 11's made in a way that reflects how fighting games used to be. He's not a unique character himself, and he doesn't gel too well with how Street Fighter V is in its current state. He's a fossil, evidence of an antiquated standard Capcom itself has pushed us away from. The saddest part of all of this is that 11 is going to be less memorable than 12. 12 is already a deep cut for most of the Street Fighter fans, but at least he was his own character with the unique take on the Mimic idea. Nobody will be talking about 11 in the coming years, but since Street Fighter 6 is the first game to take place after Street Fighter 3 for so long, maybe the legacy will live on.